Last regular season game of the year. Football team, Eagles. Going through what y'all need to know to make some money on this bitch. So, first we have the picks real quick. In Philadelphia, football team favored by 6.5, just under a touchdown, and over under set at 43. Real strong on the football team, minus 6.5. That's a little bit bigger than I would have hoped for. I get it though, but still, I'm definitely think that's a real strong bet. And as far as the over under goes, I would lean the under. It's just a little bit of a small number, and as I kind of get to, there are ways for both teams' offenses to succeed enough to go over in this game, so I wouldn't touch it. But stick around, so that's how it goes down. So first, we got the football team offense versus the Eagles defense. Injury wise, a lot of guys questionable on the football team, but they're all declared that they're going to play, and it's winning in for them, so they're going to play. And then on the Eagles, Fletcher Cox, T.J. Edwards, Derek Barnett, all out, and they moved like Jalen Mills to the COVID list, Duke Riley got moved to IR, Josh Sweat. They're missing a ton of starters. So when you talk about the run game, football team normally not very good at running the ball, but here they actually might be able to, even against the Eagles front, because while they do still have Brandon Graham and Javon Hargrave, who had both, especially as run defenders, both really good. Over the course of a full game, without the depth that they normally have, I would get worried about the football team kind of starting to blow them off the ball a little bit. Now I don't want to go crazy because the football team's offensive line is just not good enough to consistently do that, but it is enough. Now, especially early in the game, there's going to be some penetration from the Eagles. Yes, guards for the football team definitely vulnerable to that, including Brand Sheriff, whatever. He's good at a lot of things, but he still has issues for sure. He's not perfect by any means. So yeah, they're not going to be able to blow them off the ball right away, but I think over the course of the game they're going to be all right. And on the edges too, especially without Derek Barnett, who while has been really disappointing for a first rounder, decent run defender. It's not crazy. So then you talk about the second level, and listen, the Eagles now starting effectively 3 backup linebackers. Alex Singleton's okay, the one guy who's still around from earlier in the year, but then you're talking about I don't know Joe Bacci, and whoever else starts the third spot. All their depth is on IR too. It might get really, really ugly there. And when you talk about a defensive line that's not good enough at this point to stop stuff at the line of scrimmage, that bad linebackers is a real issue. So the football team's gonna be able to run the ball. And in the pass game, I mean, the Eagles, while they'll be able to generate a little bit of pass rush just because the football team's offensive line again not perfect, they're not crazy at this point. Not that they were crazy to begin with, but I mean, you talk about Vinny Curry, right? Emily Jackson is really the guys who have a chance to win quickly and meaningfully get to Alex Smith before he throws the ball. It's just not going to happen that much. One of them is an interior rusher who's not Aaron Donald, so the ceiling is really, really capped, and he's rotating in and out all the time. And the other one is a backup, defensive end. So not a ton of pass rush. And then you get to the receivers, Terry McLaurin. So Eagles on whatever, a bunch of backup corners, and Darius Slay, who's not very good at this point. But I mean, he's okay versus bad receivers. But the problem is they're going to have him shadow Terry McLaurin in this game likely, and it's impossible. He cannot cover Terry McLaurin. So Terry McLaurin he's going to constantly, the way that I talk about Stephon Diggs in games, that's what he's going to look like in this game. He's going to be crazy. And the Eagles' safeties at this point are really bad too. Marcus Epps is one of the worst secondary players in the NFL, probably starting at strong safety, with Jalen Mills and IR are on the COVID list. And Kevin Wallace, rookie for the 4th, 5th rounder, at free safety isn't exactly impressive. So you're talking about a bunch of bad players in the secondary and then one okay player who's going to be covering someone that he cannot cover. So while normally I don't like the football team's other receiving options very much, here, Logan Thomas, Dontrell Inman, Cam Sims, they're enough. Steven Sims, they're enough to move the ball up and down the field with a decent amount of consistency. And when you give Alex Smith that, Alex Smith's far from perfect at this point, in a comfortable pocket with receivers who are open, he's gonna do just fine. So I have them at 23 to 30. Their ceiling just is not that high as an offense, but if there was a game they get into the 30s, actually, this is probably the one. I don't think it's gonna happen, but a lot of real easy ways for them to move the ball. And then you get to the Eagles offense, and listen, running wise, this football team front is literally built to dominate this game. I have real issues with them as a pass rushing unit against drop back quarterbacks with good offensive lines, which obviously that's that's a pretty standard thing. But I do think they get overrated a lot as pass rushers. But as run defenders in this scenario, they're going to be literally dominant. The Eagles have a bunch of backup / bad offensive linemen. Isaac Samuel, I like. I think he's gonna be able to be like neutral on the interior at times, but he's not like a real positive. And the football team's defensive tackles are so good in run, in the run game that that's an issue. It's an issue. And Nate Herbig, for as okay as he looked early in the year, he really does struggle with strength. Same with Jason Kelsey, really. And then on the edges, Montez Sweat is like a dominant edge defender. And you're talking about Matt Pryor, and I'm guessing Prince Tagovailoa. I should mention the injuries just overall. Miles Sanders, Dallas Goedert, Richard Rodgers, Deshaun Jackson, all out for the Eagles. And Jordan Mailata starting left tackle. So you're probably talking about like rookie yet to play Prince Tagovailoa left tackle versus these edge rushers. It's a disaster. And at the second level, while normally I think John Bostic is a little bit of a target, he's fine in this game. The Eagles not doing anything special running the ball wise. And Cole Holcomb actually showing to be pretty good. I like him. And so there's just no pressing advantages for the Eagles. And even you've seen when the football team plays teams like the 49ers or these other teams that like play this side to side run game, they're really really good. And their front is built for that. And while the Eagles don't necessarily do that in the same, like it's not visually the same, I think because of Jalen Hurts, the product like result of what the football team's front needs to do ends up being very similar in terms of covering sidelines or hash to hash and playing disciplined and getting upfield and penetrating and getting stuff which they can do simultaneously given their talent disparity here. So yeah, lots of issues there. And in the pass game, I mean, pass rush wise, the defensive tackles, while I don't love them as pass rushers, are going to be able to press Jason Kelsey and Nate Herbig back into Jalen Hurts' lap all the time. And on the edges, again, you're talking about a backup tackle who has never played versus Chase Young and Montez Sweat. And Matt Pryor is their other tackle, who's not good at tackle either, especially as a pass protector. It's really really bad. Really, really bad. So then you talk about the receivers. There's at least a little bit of hope, right? Because the Eagles do still have these really fast receivers who are good or okay down the field in John Hightower and Jalen Rager, but are they enough to consistently be open? Absolutely not. And then Travis Fulgham and Greg Ward, Alshon Jeffrey are not good. And while I do have problems with the football team secondary against real receivers, they're going to be fine here. And again, their other main issues there's their safety play at this point, which turns out Jeremy Reeves not all that bad actually, which good for him. Yeah, I kind of assumed or figured that going into the Seahawks game he'd be a real issue as a backup safety versus Russell Wilson. Didn't really end up happening all that bad. Now he's still not he's far from perfect, but yeah, they despite the football team secondary having flaws, they're not really going to be exposed too much in this game. Now there is a chance Jalen Hurts has shown some things, being able to move around in the pocket, throw the ball down the field, and I do think there's a chance, just given how fast his receivers are, shit can happen in a football game for sure. And I don't think it's impossible with the way they scheme pass plays, getting him outside the pocket and stuff like that on rollouts. While I think the football team over the course of the game is really going to shut that down, drive to drive, they're probably going to have a little bit of success doing that. I would suspect, kind of like what you saw against the Saints, to a worse extent, but something like that. So I have them at 8 to 16 points. That could get higher with big plays. Again, it's just with how fast receivers are, you always have to be careful with that. But are they going to have any level of offensive consistency in this game? Absolutely not. And it's not like I want to gloss over that. Why I think Jalen Hurts has proved a lot of people kind of wrong about their draft takes. It's not like he's really good. He's just better than what people expected. And actually, I do like him as a backup. I think he has a chance to be something in the NFL, but he's not like an individual play driver yet. So yeah, there's issues all across the Eagles offense. Well, I think they have a chance at a couple of big plays. I don't see it. So I have them at 8 to 16. Football team 23 to 30, and both of those are maybe being positive in favor of the Eagles, to be honest. So really like the football team minus 6.5. And I think the under is pretty good, but that one, it's just not quite safe because, like I said, if there's a team where the football team scores in the 30s, it's this one. At which point, 43 over under is just too low to be safe. So, week 17, football team going to the playoffs.